Okay, so there are just 4 teams remaining in the Champions League, but how clear is the picture for who will be playing in the final? Will Mbappe win it with PSG this year of all years? Will Bayern overcome their recent Real Madrid hoodoo to get a rematch with PSG? Or a Wembley repeat of the 2013 final? Someone please tell me so I can get these predictions correct. Hello, I'm Adrian, and I appreciate you coming through. I wanted to thank you guys for all of the support on the Champions League coverage first and foremost. I've had a blast with this competition this season, man. It's really been fun covering it with you guys, and we continue with a preview of what's to come in these semi-finals, the Final Four. We'll start in France, and in fact, I will do the entirety of the PSG preview in French, parce que quand on parle d'une équipe française, on parle en français. Okay, maybe I'm not ready for that yet, not even close, but I will be soon because Lingoda is helping me shake the rust off with my unused French, and they can help you guys as well in the language of your choice. Plus, they want to give you 50% of your cash back as well. I'll explain soon. Lingoda is an online language school, and I'm just starting out with them, but I love it because it reminds me of the classes I took back in the day in order to graduate from university here in Quebec, where there was a French language requirement. I could speak it at some point. But since it's been a while, I went with the elementary level, which started with being able to speak about my family, introduce them, describe them, etc. It was super easy to find my level on Lingoda with the assessment quiz, and I was able to join a class that same day. I signed up with a professional native level French language teacher, and I killed it in class, guys. Come on.
Numéro 3. Vous les rejoignez à quelle heure?
Lingoda has small classes of about 3 to 5 people or one-on-one private classes if you prefer, but either way, there's a heightened focus on speaking, which is the best way to learn how to speak a language. There is also material to practice in between classes so you can really stay sharp. Now, what was I talking about receiving money back from Lingoda? Well, I'm taking the Lingoda Sprint Challenge, which is taking 30 lessons in 60 days, and that will get you 50% of your cash back or 30 credits. Or if you are especially determined to improve quickly, take the Super Sprint Challenge, which is 60 lessons in 60 days, and you get 50% of your cash back or 60 credits, the equivalent of 100% cash back. This is the best way to learn, as language is like a muscle. The more frequently you use it, the stronger it is, and the more it's etched into your brain. Unlike me, French is weak in my brain. Lingoda is an award-winning online language school, and if you want to finally learn a new language or brush up on the one that you haven't used in a while, such as in my case, then this is the best language school for you. Join me in learning language with one of the sprint challenges by using the link in the description. Plus, using that link will also get you a discount of 25 USD, 20 euro, or 15 pounds. The benefits do not stop. Use the link, and thank you, Lingoda. This Borussia Dortmund team is getting better and better lately. They of course overcame Atletico Madrid in the final 8, while PSG took out Barcelona. These two teams were sniping Spanish sides in the previous round, with both of them having to come from behind on aggregate in order to advance. They also shared a group earlier in the tournament, with Dortmund finishing top of the table, but PSG never lost a match to Dortmund. They drew in Germany, with PSG winning in Paris. Domestically, they're in different circumstances. PSG will no doubt trot along to another Ligue 1 title despite having one of their lowest point totals in some time. Luis Enrique hasn't shied away from rotating his squad and giving plenty of opportunities to young players. On top of that, he has benched players like Kolo Muani and Gonzalo Ramos, new arrivals from the summer, and has instead played Dembele centrally a few times, Mbappe centrally, even though we had previously thought Mbappe was allergic to that position, etc. Gonzalo Ramos in particular, no, this isn't Benfica hyperfixation, but he has been quite good when given the opportunities. Those haven't come in regular supply for him. Luis Enrique hasn't really been beholden to the president or Luis Campos and felt like he has to play the shiny new signings. He hasn't had to deal with Neymar, Messi, etc. Instead, he has played who he wants to, such as young Zaire Emery in midfield or fullback, and the team's overall spirit has seemed much more unified than in the past. Even someone like Mbappe, who has been substituted at halftime or stayed on the bench at times, as he did against Lyon recently, has been behind Enrique and just another member of the team. No moaning, no complaining, and no distractions recently, to be fair to him. Ahead of their tie against Barcelona, he was speaking of how he believed that they would come back at Montjuic to advance, the belief he had, and following it, how he wants to win the Champions League with PSG, how it's a dream for him, but he's still leaving. On the flip side of things, you could say the same of the team spirit at Borussia Dortmund recently. If you watched that second half against Atletico Madrid in the second leg, I'm sure you would have been wowed, not just by the team spirit, but the club spirit, as the crowd felt like they too were taking part in that match, reacting to every touch of the ball and forcing Dortmund forward to score twice in 2 minutes to advance past Atletico. The verdict on Edin Terzic is still out. There was plenty of scrutiny on him this season following the Bundesliga fumble of the 2022-23 season. It was in their hands and they collapsed. And even as recently as December, it was mooted that he wouldn't last the winter break in Germany, but he has stuck around thanks to his Champions League performances, and he has turned around Dortmund's form, for the most part at least. Since the beginning of March, they've had just 2 losses, one in the Champions League and one against VfB Stuttgart, a very good side this season. Other than that, the record is 7 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, and even in the draw, Bayer Leverkusen required a 98th minute equalizer to get a point out of that match. Not that they need any more points, they're already champions, but those late goals, man, they just keep on coming, don't they, for Leverkusen? We have seen Jadon Sancho begin to find his form since his return to Dortmund on loan, match by match, getting better and better after that long layoff at Manchester United. Niklas Füllkrug has also hit a nice patch of form for Dortmund recently, ending a bit of a barren run with that goal and assist versus Atletico, and then following that up with a goal against Leverkusen as well. He hadn't scored for about 2 months for Dortmund prior to that, going back to February 17th. Now, what do we make of the opponents they have both faced in the competition thus far? You could argue they've been relatively level in that regard, relatively being the operating word here, the key word there. Borussia Dortmund beat PSV 3-1 on aggregate in the round of 16, then beat Atletico Madrid as mentioned, while PSG eased past Real Sociedad and out of sorts La Real, and then overcame Barcelona. When you look at the form of the sides they eliminated in the quarterfinals, you could say that Barcelona was absolutely the more difficult team than Atletico. Barca were on a 13-match unbeaten run, having won 6 matches on the spin prior to that PSG collapse in the second leg. Atletico, on the other hand, their form has been brutal recently. Since the beginning of February, they have now played 16 matches, winning just 6 of them. Now, 2 things can be true. Nothing is binary. Atletico can be in really poor form, and Dortmund's performances can be improving as well. And I think both things are true. What worries me about both sides is that they seemingly have the bozo gene in their defense at times. I feel that this is a benefit to the neutral as mistakes lead to goals, but is harsh on the life expectancy of supporters of each side. For how great he has been this season, Hummels does have a mistake in him, just as PSG's back line, and I'm looking at Donnarumma here, also have mistakes in them, especially if you press the Italian keeper. As of now, I do like Dortmund's defense a bit more than PSG's, as I find their midfield provides a bit better cover with Sabitzer and Can, while Sabitzer has also been in great form recently when it comes to his offensive output. 2 goals against Gladbach, a goal and 2 assists against Atleti, and an assist against Leverkusen. PSG's midfield has felt a bit hit and miss, though with their back line, Marquinhos returning is great. Donnarumma has been better this season, even if I can't trust him. We'll see. Where I do like each side is in the attack recently. It's here where I'll give the edge to PSG, even though Julian Brandt has been awesome. But PSG, they have too many weapons, one of which being one of the best attackers in the world at the moment, Kylian Mbappe, determined to win with PSG during his farewell tour, but backed up by a Dembele that was mostly brilliant against Barcelona. Can he harm another one of his former sides in Dortmund, just as he did against Barca? I think he will, but we've also seen Bradley Barcola become a massive problem down the flank as well, as he has become more comfortable at PSG as the season has gone on. He was integral to the torching of Lyon recently, his former club, played a big role in getting Ronald Araujo sent off against Barca. Great player, one to watch. On top of that, Gonzalo Ramos got a few goals against Lyon as well, 2 of them. He's hitting his stride at the right time. There are options for Enrique going forward. When I look at the two teams and how they match up, including their shared history already this season, I do feel like it's advantage PSG. The first match is in Dortmund, and they absolutely need to get a 1 or 2 goal advantage in that match in order to give themselves a chance away to PSG in the following week. It will be tight as it's fairly evenly matched, but I believe that PSG has a changed mentality under Enrique and the difference makers in the attack to advance to the final. One such difference maker is, of course, Kylian Mbappe, who, despite seeing more of the bench this season than perhaps any other season in his career, has still put up great numbers. His time on the sidelines isn't down to a lack of performances, but no doubt a combination of Luis Enrique both wanting to conserve him for the latter part of the season, as well as avoid risking injury, as well as starting to turn the page on Mbappe at PSG. They're not going to have him next season. They got to get used to that. All of that said, though, Mbappe is still having one of his best seasons of his career with 41 goals and 9 assists. That's 51 goal contributions in just 42 appearances. He also leads the Champions League with 8 goals scored. What's interesting to consider is if, and there's a couple of ifs coming here, but if PSG make the final, there's a good chance he could be competing against Real Madrid. Imagine that, an awkward match to say the least. So, with that said, let's consider the other side of the semifinals. Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid is a classic matchup in this competition, and in fact, compared to every other matchup in the Champions League knockout stages, this fixture has been played the most. They've only shared a group once, that in the 1999-2000 season, but other than that, their other 24 meetings have been in the knockout rounds. In their early shared history, after first meeting in 1976, Bayern had the upper hand until about 2012. That's when the paradigm began to shift. Prior to that, Bayern had 12 wins, 2 draws, and 6 losses against Real Madrid. Since 2012, or after that, they've not beat Real Madrid in 6 matches, losing all of them but one of them. The 2018 semi-final that they drew 2-2 at the Bernabeu, with Real Madrid advancing and going on to win the final. In fact, the last 3 times that they have met, Real Madrid went on to win the entire competition after overcoming Bayern. So there's the shared history. What about their run in this competition? Bayern had a sloppy start to the knockout rounds, as you'll remember, as they lost away to a dreadful Lazio side. Bayern themselves were pretty dreadful at times in January and February, but they have mostly overcome that form, showing that even when they aren't their imperious selves, which they aren't right now, they can still beat an Arsenal side that is close to their absolute best, or at least their record in 2024 has shown as such. Bayern struck twice in London, then controlled the match fairly well back in Bavaria, coming close to scoring a few times before Kimmich's free header in the box. They followed that up with a drubbing of Union Berlin away 5-1, a team that they had just barely defeated back in January when their house was burning around them. Matthijs Tel with a brace against Union, Leon Goretzka with a fantastic performance, and Bayern perhaps guilty of taking the foot off of the gas with that goal they conceded in the 90th minute. A 5-1 is a massive win, but 5-0 is more aesthetically pleasing. No, nothing screams domination like a big fat 5-0, eh? Real Madrid, on the other hand, haven't lost a single match in this Champions League run, though they, funnily enough, have drawn 3 in a row, kind of. They won the final one in a shootout, at least. They first played against Leipzig in the round of 16 and didn't look all that great. Remember that goal that wasn't a goal for Leipzig? They ended up winning the tie with some great defending against Leipzig. Against Man City, they played a classic at the Bernabeu, drawing 3-3. And then against City in Manchester, wow. All hands on deck for the defensive end of things, sitting back and allowing City to have as much as the ball as they wanted, and stifling each and every attack pretty much, except for that one goal from Kevin De Bruyne. I think in my recap of what happened in that match, the way that I spoke of Real Madrid's second leg against City, about not providing anything at all really, just barely hanging on, I mean, all of that is true. They didn't have a shot on target after the 12th minute after all, but I think that came across as saying that it was all luck for them, when that wasn't what I meant, because it isn't really fair. Sure, luck is involved in football, you need luck to make a final, but they also defended incredibly well with the players they have had available to them, and that's a part of football, especially at the back where Alaba and Courtois are still missing, you know, and Militão is only just returning now. So if it sounded like I was discrediting them, I'm not. I even have a video saying that what Ancelotti has done recently has been a massive achievement considering all of the injuries he's had to put up with. But in saying that, he also has some incredible squad players that he can look to, and not just that, but that he can really trust to do a job for him. Nacho may not be overly fancy by most people on the outside looking in at Real Madrid, but he has been a blessing for not just Ancelotti, but the managers that preceded him as well. His substitute work at the heart of defense and at right back at times, whenever Real has needed him, has been fantastic. Hell, he even stepped up and converted his penalty brilliantly against Manchester City. Vasquez as well, he had a bit part against Manchester City, but he stepped up and slotted his penalty as cool as you would like, and then played a massive role in Real Madrid's win over Barcelona, getting a goal and an assist, the man of the match for this Clásico in particular. When you can call upon players like this who aren't overwhelmed by the occasion of any match because they have won everything already and are just overall solid footballers in multiple positions, that's a massive boon to Ancelotti. Perhaps that will be a difference maker in this tie. And so how do we see this all going? Well, with Bayern getting a big win against Union lately, Real Madrid had their Clásico win over Barcelona, where the lack of goal line technology stole the headlines, maybe the result. But it was a great game for a neutral like myself, and yet another match in which Jude Bellingham has stepped up at the perfect time for Real Madrid. Not just that, but the second time this season that he has scored a stoppage time winner against FC Barcelona. He is the new heel for Barcelona. History certainly favors Real Madrid, recent history at least. And the fact that overall, despite not always being in overwhelming form, if that makes sense, they have still found victories. Or perhaps I should say they have still managed to lose just two matches all season, and they were both against Ancelotti's bogey team, Atletico Madrid, and both matches were in their bogey stadium, the Metropolitano. That, my friends, is pretty remarkable. Just two losses, and both of them were against the same team in the same stadium. Other than that, they've not tasted a single defeat. The same can't really be said of Bayern Munich. They are way off of the pace in the Bundesliga, though I think, to be fair, most European powers wouldn't be able to keep up with this never-losing side. Their Champions League record, however, is an improvement, despite that one loss to Lazio thanks in part to Upamecano's error. One of quite a few errors this season for the French centre-back. No wonder Eric Dyer has overtaken him. Dyer, in fact, let's speak about him, has been an incredible signing for Tuchel. While he is still made fun of frequently, you can't deny that for 3.5 million euros, he's been fantastic. With all that being said, it does feel like the current options for Bayern in the defensive department may not be up to snuff when it comes to facing this Real Madrid attack of Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, etc. Where Arsenal bottled it in the attack mostly, Real Madrid won't do Bayern that favor. I'm not overly worried about Real Madrid's defense because of the points mentioned prior. No matter who's there, they will be fantastic. All they need is Rudiger, and he will block everything. However, with Kane and Musiala flying at them, as well as Sané, they will certainly be tested, as Kane is the leader in the Champions League with goal contributions, 7 goals and 3 assists. For me, however, this is the point in the competition where I look to the prowess of this Real Madrid side. I look to their record this season and their recent history against Bayern Munich, and I look to the performances they have put in recently in which they have shown that they can bunker when they have to and play super deep, and they can also score goals at a frequent rate going forward. Bayern will be a tough proposition, but for me, Real Madrid will make the final once again. If you can score 4 goals against City in 2 legs and bunker against 33 attempts and yet limit them to 2.74 XG overall from those 33 attempts, that is incredibly impressive. Coupled with their economical attack, their historic dominance of Bayern since the 2013-14 season, and it's Real who I lean towards in this case. But how do you see it? Will it be Mbappe versus his future club in the final? Will Bayern pull through to take on PSG or perhaps a De Clasico final? Let me know. But beyond that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in French class. Ciao, or à bientôt.